Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Before I get started, make sure you check out homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com to check out our traveling schedule for the 2025 year Homeschool Yo Kids Expo. Um, yeah, we have some great states on the map or on the schedule, so make sure you check that out. Remember that homeschooling was never meant to be done alone. It takes a village. Major shout out to a couple of our sponsors that are mission to ensure that you find your tribe. Classical Conversations is a nationwide curriculum provider, so check them out. Um, they offer community support as well as curriculum. And Basecamp Ed is an amazing free app that encourages community building. It is free to download, so check them out also. And today we have with us Quinn. Quinn, introduce yourself.
Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Laquinda, aka Quinn. I am a homeschooling parent, an entrepreneur, you name it. I wear many hats. So that's me, Laquinda Johnson.
Of course, of course. And how did we get on the homeschooling journey?
Oh, Lord, my homeschooling journey began around 2019, like 2 weeks prior to the pandemic. I actually pulled my daughter from public school due to the fact that she wasn't being challenged. She was being used as a teacher assistant. And
Oh,
that was one of my non negotiables. Yeah. That was one of my non negotiables, especially being a classroom teacher for 14 years. I said, no, 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 that can't happen. My daughter is not an assistant unless you're cutting a check for her
right?
in the classroom. And that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So ultimately, I pulled her 2 weeks shy to schools being shut down in Georgia.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's how my homeschooling journey began.
What grade?
She was at the time she was in first grade. hmm She was
Okay,
in first grade.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all a little deep in. How has it been?
It has been the best decision that I have made. Ultimately, being a classroom teacher, I never saw myself outside of the classroom. I was like, I'm going to retire. Just like, previous family members, I'm going to retire outside of the
Uh,
classroom. My children are going to go through public school. That was the mindset that I had at the designated time. My mindset shifted, and as a result, this has been the best experience. But yeah, it's been the best experience I can say. It's truly been wonderful, our journey.
oh, nice. And she's your only one, so it's just
Yes,
y'all two?
she's my only one. She's my only one.
Oh, nice. How does your day look?
So my day, it depends on what day it is. So ultimately, when we first started homeschooling, I tried to mimic what was going on or what I was used to, my norms, as far as getting up early in the morning, making sure there's breakfast, then starting our lesson. And then I realized, that's not my MO. I didn't like that as a teacher, getting up that early.
Right.
And she didn't like it either. So as a result, I said, you know what, we're going to scratch it. We had to unlearn and relearn. That was
Mhm.
our method. So we had a schedule as far as what worked best for us. And then if there was something that we didn't complete, ultimately we'll catch it back up the next day. With homeschooling for us, our schedule, it can be during the day, it can be during the night, because currently, right now, I am currently in Florida. So I am consulting. So she is on this journey with me. She's traveling with me, and she is seeing mommy in action. She's an entrepreneur as well. So she's in action as well at the school where I'm consulting at currently.
Nice. Okay, sweet.
hmm
So is she in about what, fifth grade now?
She is currently a fifth grader, about to move up to middle school. So that middle school. And
Nice.
I always tell her that ultimately, if there's something that I need to reteach or, reteach, then ultimately it's okay. Because at the end of the day, I instill in her what's needed,
Mm.
not based on what society is saying. It's based on what your needs are. So she was gardening um, back home. But now in Florida, of course, my parents don't have a garden, but she's still operating as such. How we start our day with affirmations. After our affirmations, as she writes down her affirmations, after her affirmations, we focus on a quote of the day. And then she writes down a response. Then we spend time together as far as just thinking about or coming together prior to us starting out our day. We sit down and we have a discussion as far as what the day will look like. And then we understand we're unapologetic for anything that actually happens, anything that doesn't take place. So we're unapologetic. So she has been leading the journey because, like I said, from the first year of when we started, said it was more so workbooks and worksheets, but now we're at the point of let's get these real world experiences, baby.
Yes, yes. How is it for her with her being the only child?
So she is my only child biologically by birth. She has
Okay.
some a brother, two brothers, and a sister. So they're older. They're older, but for her being the youngest out of the entire tribe, it's like um, she matured.
Hmm.
The conversations, like when she's around us, we forget sometimes that she's only 10 years old because she's able to um, have conversations with individuals, and without seeing her they think she's older, she has an old soul. So we always have to be mindful of that. So with our co-op in Georgia, it's more so um, a village. They're more so her age, so we always make sure that she's around kids her age as well.
Okay, nice. And that's what I was gonna ask you. Are you all
Mhm.
a part? You're a part of a co-op?
Yes, we started. Well, we've dibbled and dab into different co-ops based on just being new at the time when we first started out. So we joined a co-op to see what it was like, and ultimately, we can form our own because there were some things that we ultimately wanted but didn't see, and our concept was for us by us. And as a result, we said, okay, we're going to come up with our own conscious connections, which is equipping our village, our fruit, based on their needs. So it's outside of your norm because it's tailored to meet our kids, their needs, our brown babies. That's what it was for. So our concept is mindset, or having a mindset or skills that you're going to need because the world is evolving. So as a result, we're making sure that you're equipped. What that looks like, we want to make sure that you're able to grow your own food, that you're able to actually grow your own food. You're actually able, you're for you. So we want to make sure you're equipped. On top of that, we want to instill in you those character traits because people aren't having those discussions about your character, your integrity, what makes people flock to you or move against you. So having those tough conversations, how to deal with your emotions, that social emotional learning aspect as well, and also entrepreneurship. Because once again, we want you to shadow, or we want you to actually get into the mindset of this is what is required or this is what is needed, because sometimes we shelter our babies and ultimately they're not equipped. So we wanted to make sure that they were equipped. That's what it was all about. And the village coming together. So it's elders, our parents, our grandparents, just supporting us through this actual journey.
Nice, nice. That's what I was gonna. Was there any pushback or anyone asking like, you sure you're gonna homeschool her? Why you still
Yeah.
homeschooling? Like they let kids back into school. Why you still doing
Yes.
this?
Yes. So yes, yes. So it was just, you've been to public school. What's the problem? And ultimately, when I started this journey, it was like I started doubting myself because I'm like, wait,
Mm,
hold on. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. It's a disservice. But then I thought to myself, I said, wait, I was teacher of the year.
mm.
I'm certified. I have these
Right.
credentials. So why am I doubting myself? And then when individuals see the journey of where she is and how spoken she is, they're like, wow. And then, always there's that caveat. Oh, well, what about socializing? What about socializing? What about socializing? My daughter is a social butterfly. When you all
Yes.
see her at the expo, they would say, wait, that's her. Yeah, that's her. She has a mixture personality between myself and her dad, and it's just
Oh,
hilarious.
oh, nice. What did you used to teach?
I used to teach language arts, middle school language arts, and
Middle
reading.
school, yes, the
Yes,
trenches, honey. I
middle
call them
school.
the trenches, okay?
Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. So even when I'm in the space of, like I said, consulting and working with elementary, middle school, and high school, it's like, wow, look at where we are. So anytime that I partner with an organization, I always tell them, I pride myself on free range. I don't like sticking to the norm. I said, so if you want your traditional setting, then that's not I can't offer that to you anymore because I'm not in that space anymore. I'm non-traditional in every way.
Right, yes. So how long did it take you to get there though? Because I know you said when you first started, you were
Mm-hmm.
still, all right, we need to do these workbooks, we need to cross this T, dot this I. So how long did the deschooling process take?
It took me, I would say, after that first year.
Okay.
Like after that first year, it was like, hey, this is what works. This is what we're going to do. Like we're on the go. We're in the car. Hey, let's have a session. Let's look at this sign up here. What does that say? Okay, all right. Where are we going? North, south, east, or west? Things of that nature. So it
Yes.
was like, this works. It
Yes.
wasn't it wasn't combative between my daughter and I. It wasn't combative because she was like, oh, I'm really feeling this. We can do this, even as far as real world math skills. My daughter is an entrepreneur. Had her first vending machine business at the age of 5.
Oh,
So taking her on that journey as far as being an entrepreneur, what that looks like, I said, she makes smoothies. She makes treats, vegan treats. So ultimately, right now at the where I'm consulting, she makes smoothies for the staff that is there. So we have a health initiative. So everyone was asking her, why are you vegan? And she's able to have conversations and dialogue with them about it. And then she said, on top of that, let me show you what I can do. So
oh
she
yeah.
makes smoothies on Mondays and Wednesdays, and they're like, oh, I'm sewing into. They were like, this is the real deal. Like, and they're like, what do you use? She said, I can't give you all of my sauce. I can't give
Right?
you all of my
Yes.
sauce, but I just
Yes.
want you to know it's natural. There's nothing. She said everything is from the heart and it's made with love. I just want you to
Oh,
understand that and know that. So they appreciate that. And then we had like different day. We have a wellness initiative going on. So when people were sick or when the scholars were sick, she made some teas for them. And she passed out some teas. We had, of course, parent permission from the parents, and they were like, "Oh, this is it," because she said some of them were sick like every other day. She was like, we have to do something, mommy. And
right.
I said, okay, let's do it. So that's why we started the wellness initiative. So at the end of the day, it's like, wow, just seeing her journey, her transformation as well.
Yes, that game changer. Look what you raising. I love it. Got a whole healer on your hands. Out here
Yes, yes,
reaching and
yes.
teaching
Yes,
early.
yes, 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 yes.
Yes.
And I always tell her at any point in time, you know, if someone asks you something and you don't know the answer, it's okay to be transparent and say, you know what, I don't know. But I said, you never leave it at I don't know. You go back and you get the answer because you can get the answer. It's not that difficult. And she's like, oh, I know. I got it. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah, so as far as her with her business, she handles all of the like her pricing, her menu, things of that nature. Like she's already set in that.
Yes. Yes, she's already set in that because ultimately, like I said, we pivoted because, like I said, we're in Florida now. So
Mhm.
in Georgia, we had a whole plan as far as what we were going to do, like the summer menu. She has a summer, spring, winter. She has all that. She has our menu. And then ultimately, when we came to Florida, she was like, Mommy, I had this plan. I was like, it just it's transferable because it's yours.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, you can do it. So I never, when she came here and having that conversation with her as far as me consulting, she never really, that mindset, it wasn't there. But now being in the space, she was like, oh, let me do this. This is something that we
Mhm.
can do, and I can still incorporate what it is that I need to do. And I said, let's go for it. Let's go for it. And everyone is supportive because we have now incorporated a homeschool pop-in or pop-in where you can actually come to the designated location and you can, if you want like electives, we offer dance, music, and theater. So you're able to pop in, and I used her as the muse for that, what that would look like. And that's why I said non-traditional. I'm all about that. So she's popping into the electives that are there. At times, she may pop into a class for math, depending on what it is, what their focus is for that particular week. She'll pop in.
Okay, and that's with the co-op, or that's something different?
That is while I'm consulting here in Florida. Now,
Okay.
yes, so that where she's able to, I'm not able to leave her per se I don't want to leave her at home. I want her to experience everything. So that's why she's coming with me. But at the end of the day, I turn it into her own. And like I said, as far as the school having flexibility and leeway to where I can say, okay, guess what? She loves to dance. She loves acting. She wants to get into that space. So as a result, it's a school of the arts. So why not have you push in to see what it's all about? And then once you're done, then you come back to me and we continue on our journey of what we're doing for that particular day.
Nice. I love that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how long are y'all live in Florida or y'all
No, we have
okay.
been here. I came here for my nephew's graduate or no his ceremony. I came here for his ceremony, and ultimately I was informed or I was asked to contract or provide services for an up and coming school. And
Mm,
ultimately I said, okay, all right. This was in May. I've been here ever since. So this was this was not ultimately the plan at all. It
so
was just
last
based on a
May.
conversation. Yes. 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 So that's why I said homeschooling. Ultimately, if I wasn't homeschooling, this would not have been possible.
Right,
I would
right.
not have been able to do this because ultimately I would have had to get her back into school or come back to school,
Hmm.
or someone would have been trying to knock at someone's door. That doesn't happen. So ultimately she's traveling with me, and we're making the most out of everything because it's
Nice.
not what we planned for. This was
Yeah.
something, like I said, that happened along the course of May last year, and we're still here.
Nice. I love it. Look,
Mhm.
I've been hanging out in Florida for the last, 2 months going on. Yeah, we've been 2 months strong. We've been here.
Yes.
We had an
Hmm.
expo in Virginia and we just
Hmm.
came down to Jacksonville because that's where all my family's at. So we just been hanging out with
Yes.
family. But
Yes, because
yes.
like ultimately when I saw the ad, I was like, oh, okay. I tapped into Georgia. I was like, Georgia, while I was
Mhm.
here in Florida. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna be late. No, I'm still here. So let's shift it and see, hey, Florida. Let's see if we can do Florida.
Yes, yes. And I appreciate you.
You're
You
welcome. You're
definitely
welcome.
appreciate it. Can't wait to
Yeah.
meet you in person.
Yes.
Um, did she ever talk about going to school?
I ask her every year as we prepare for the new year. I always ask her, being transparent. I said, "Hey, it's another year. Let's sit down and have a conversation amongst the family. Hey, let's have this conversation. Are you ready to go back to school?" And the look that she gives is like, "Are you serious? Why are you asking me this?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, all right. So we're doing something right."
Right? I know. Like, girl.
Mhm. She was like, "Stop it." She was like, no, that's not. Mm-mm. She was like, I remember. I'm like, ma'am, you're only 10 years old. What are you talking about? You
Right.
remember? I remember when we had to do this and had to do that. And I was, rebelling against that. And I was like, rebelling? Really? She was
Oh,
like,
good word. I
yes.
like that word. I like
She was
that
like,
word.
I was rebelling. She's one of those, she's inquisitive. She always asks, like, okay, what is the purpose of us doing this? What is the
Mm,
purpose of it? Is this like, what am I going to get out of this? And if it doesn't make sense, she will continue to question. And at times it's like, if you don't sit, what do you, what? And it's like, no, that's what we're raising her. You know, you always question things,
Hmm.
go against the grain. It's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
It's all right. Because now with the unlearning and relearning, now dad teaches her stocks, credit building, those financial literacy, because those are things that, of course, if our parents knew that that was what should have been taught, they would have taught us that,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. So as a result, it is our responsibility to teach her, and then she is going to in return teach her children. She's teaching her grandparents. They ask her questions about, you know, any and everything, and she's like, okay, this is the reason why, you know, you should invest in your stocks. This is why you should do it. This is what this means. And it's like, oh, okay, all right, wow.
Don't they
Mhm.
just amaze you with all they can grasp and hold on to?
She
Like, we
does.
really do undermine our kids as far as like thinking that they can't handle something. And then once you
Mhm.
teach it to them and how they excel at it, it's like, oh my gosh, I should have
Yes.
been told you this.
And I always, or we've always instilled in her, like, everyone, because how do I want to phrase this? You're going to lose some and you're going to win some. I want you to understand that. I said in life, it's a competition. You're competing against others, but at the end of the day, you do your best. Don't worry about what someone else is doing, because once again, you don't know their path. You don't know what they're doing. So you do what's best for you. And that's what we instill in her. And we
Nice.
there are some non-negotiables. Of course, there's some non-negotiables for her, but then outside of that, there is, okay, some leeway. So we're still guiding her on that journey, because if we didn't guide her, then ultimately she maybe want to be a TikToker. And there's
Right.
nothing wrong with TikTok. There's nothing wrong, but at the end of the day, there's so much more than TikTok. And her screen time, we limit her screen time. And other people will say, okay, why limit her screen time? She's a child. There are reasons why. There are
You
reasons
just said
why.
it. She's a child.
She's a
Like,
child and she
yeah.
should not be on the screen. I said, because even when you look at studies of, the brain development, that's a separate conversation.
Right. I
That's
know.
a separate conversation. So I'm not even going to go there. But yes, we do limit her screen time. We do give her screen time, but it's not so much where everything is on the screen. No. Mm-mm.
Yes, girl. Mine stay trying to negotiate theirs,
Mm-hmm.
honey. But I think my 8-year-old figured out that Kenny, my oldest one, hers
Mm-hmm.
go off because I have them set like they don't come on. You can't use them until afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and they have 4 hours, and one of those hours has to be educational, and the other
Mm-hmm.
three is free for all. But
Yes.
um. I don't know what she said the other day. She said you need to fix hers because her tablet comes on or stays on like I don't know, it's like 30 minutes later than hers or something. And I was like, I'm thinking that it's broke or something. Like, she's like, you need to fix Kennedy's tablet
Mm-hmm.
because
Because she's like, she has
yeah.
extra time, and that's
Uh-huh. But she
unacceptable.
don't. Like, y'all better
Mm-hmm.
leave me alone. Because
Yes,
you're lucky
yes,
you got him at all. Yes.
exactly.
But the limits is needed because Lord knows if it
Yes,
wasn't in place.
it's so much, and then their reaction and the reason why, seeing it at the forefront, the reaction when you take it away, the
Mhm.
meltdowns. It's like, wait, that's what's going to happen? Oh, no, 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 no. So,
Yeah.
and then having those conversations with her, because even when she sees her, family members or associates with their tablets, she'll say, I see. Look how long they've had their tablet. What's going to
Mhm.
happen when they take it away? I said, well, let's do an experiment. Just meltdowns. And it's like, oh, she's like, oh, okay. And I said, these are the reasons why, because it wasn't originally me. Dad was like, well, with screens, we might want to do something. I was like, no, they're kids. Let kids be kids. And then, yeah, I had that meltdown, the
Right.
first meltdown. I was like, oh no. I said,
Like,
oh no,
no.
that's not the life that I'm living. We're not doing that. Because we're the generation where they introduced, the computers and things. We're
Hmm.
that generation. So it's nothing for us to say, here, take this tablet, take this phone. But then, didn't know. But now knowing,
Right.
it's like, no, you have limitations.
Yeah, it's like watching a lot of the studies or looking at some of the things. I know what's the documentary Social Dilemma, I want to say it is.
Yeah, that was
I
it.
had my students watch that when I was still in the classroom, my
Hmm.
10th and 12th graders, because I was like, y'all need to understand this is intense. It's way
Yeah,
deeper than what you think it is. So
yeah.
even with myself, I limit myself. You know how I
Hmm.
tell you like your weekly screen time and stuff. I always
Hmm.
celebrate when it's down. Like, yes,
Yes,
you
yes.
know,
And
because
your energy shifts ultimately, and it takes away when you go outside, and this was all the study as well. When you go outside, you don't see that many children outside playing. You don't.
yeah.
They will say, no, I don't want to. Hello. They will say, I don't want to go outside. Like in as soon as they step foot outside, it's like, oh no, I'm sweating. I need to go back inside. What is going on? It's like, man, we spent hours outside and you cannot
Yes.
look, you cannot come to that door talking about I'm hot, I'm tired. No, you take your water bottle, your snacks, and you're outside for about at least 2 hours. Two
Yes.
hours. And
Yes.
I said, no. I said, it's just, people don't want to go outside anymore.
Oh, mine be out there, girl.
Yeah, they be outside.
Yeah, my sister got this little park. They be definitely up there. Only
Yeah.
kids. They
Mm-hmm.
had some company during the spring break. Florida just went
Mm-hmm.
off spring break, so they had a little company then. But most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, it's just be them two, and I'm
Yeah.
happy they have each other. But I
Mm-hmm.
definitely kick them on out the door, like, oh, y'all gotta
Yeah,
go
like,
out, go get some sun. Yeah,
yeah, like get
like
on out, get on out, get
yes.
on out. And she's used to it because, like I said, apart when we're well now, I mean, no matter where we are, it's like, okay, you have to go outside. Let's go
Mhm.
outside. Let's stop whatever we're doing and go outside. And she reminds me, if I'm boggled down doing something, she's like, no, mommy, it's nope, non-negotiable. These are things that we have to do. So she keeps me grounded as far as
Right.
what needs to be done as well, because I can get consumed with things. And she's like, nope. At the end of the day, nope. It's you and I here in Florida right now. So we got to make it do
Mhm.
what it do. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
that is true.
I love that. So you do consulting.
Yes.
Talk about it.
So, my company, Lady Quinn Enterprise, we offer various educational services and solutions, one being consulting, tutoring, professional development. Those are just a few, just to name a few. So, with consulting, as I stated, I'm here in Florida and I'm consulting for Greater Love Christian Academy, which is a school of the arts, K through fifth. We're going to now extend out to sixth grade. We're rolling out sixth grade for
Mm.
this upcoming school year. So most likely I'll still be here. I'll still be here. Yeah, I'll still be here, just making sure that everything is top of the line as far as education, academically, spiritually, and physically, as far as their mission and vision. So that's what I'm here doing right now in Florida, consulting at a private school. And I do offer services to public, private, as well as homeschooling groups.
Okay,
Yes,
nice. So
because
they can.
I always believe in, prior to me to when I take on an assignment, I have to be in that space.
Mm.
So that's why I never close down, public, because that's where I came from, public school.
Mhm.
So I still offer that as an option. But I'm very transparent in the services I say. I still tell them, hey, it's non-traditional, my approach. That's my norm. If that's not something that you would like to partake in, then it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. But no one has turned down anything based off of the services. So I think I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path.
Nice.
Hmm.
Yes. Are you helping them to build out their brand as far as like curriculum goes, or what are you helping them build out?
So everything from the curriculum to the hiring to
Okay.
the only thing that the electives, adding in the arts piece, because like I said, we have dance and theater and music. So next year we're adding in art. because and giving them electives. So the whole model of what it looks like from the vision of Chancellor Richardson, his vision, taking that and just turning it into what it is now. That is ultimately my role.
Nice. And you said that's a private school?
Yes, it is a private school.
Okay, cool, cool. Do you use any curriculum in your homeschool?
My curriculum, I'm okay. There is a kicker. I use various curriculum based on what the needs are for my daughter. But I can design curriculum, or I have designed curriculum that's fit for her. But I always tell myself, I like to dibble and dab. I like to dibble and dab. That's just me, based on where she is, what space she is in, as far as her educational journey. So
Right.
we've checked out like the powerhouse. That was one that we looked into, but it was like, yeah, that's in front of the computer. No, so it's more so like those experiences, me developing curriculum that's centered around where she is, what path I want for her.
Nice, nice. Does she help you build out the curriculum?
Yes. So at the beginning, at the forefront, when I'm talking to her as far as what the things that she would like to explore. So next year for her, it's going to be all about entrepreneurship. So her curriculum will be based on, from one aspect, just being an entrepreneur, like, and truly understanding what that looks like. So if this is the path or this is the journey that you want to partake in, this is what it entails. So that's one aspect. And then my brother is a math teacher. So therefore, when it comes to math, he takes on that sector. My sister-in-law is a social studies teacher. So history, um, we have a non-traditional as far as history from that perspective. So the history that we use is written by, um, it's written, it's how do I want to say? It's more so the
Mm.
untold history.
Mm.
That's what it is for us. So I want her to understand, this journey where what is not in the books, especially in Georgia.
Mm.
You're going to have some untruths. So ultimately, digging a little bit deeper into who you are, where you come from, and actually exploring that journey. So that's what we are exploring. That's what we're exploring with social studies, and then of course with language arts, that would be more so me. And let's see, am I missing anything? No, not. I don't think I'm missing it. Oh, science. She loves science. So STEAM, STEM. That's what she loves. She loves science. She loves experiments. So focusing on more experiments for her for this year, getting her into some additional courses for that as well. So that's where we are.
Nice. And so you say you offer homeschool consultation. What would that
Yes.
entail for homeschoolers? What are you offering for them?
So it depends. Basically, with the consulting for homeschooling, that component comes from the demand, the request, as far as parents not knowing, ultimately, thinking that the journey was hard, like you have to do this, you have to do that. It's like, no, to each his own. You have to understand your story or your narrative is different from someone else. So if you're more so one of the individuals that wants to keep it aligned to mimic what a public school is, okay, maybe this is the option for you. Maybe you need to, and maybe you say, yeah, I don't have the designated time. Okay, maybe that micro school is something that's for you. So making sure that I'm aware of what's out there, so that I can help those families on their actual journey, because my story isn't like someone else's story. And it's all based on your capacity. What are you able to do? I'm able to do maybe more than someone else is, because when sometimes when parents come to me and say, oh, I want to homeschool, I've realized that some of them, they don't want to do it. they want someone else to do it. And
Yes,
I'm like,
ma'am.
okay, all right. I said, okay, well, this is what you want to do. They'd say, okay, I don't want to. I want to pull them from the school, but I don't want to per se be their teacher. I want them to, get support from this person or that. Okay, all right. So my homeschooling journey is totally different from yours because I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm in that space and breaking down what does it mean? What does it look like? Unschooling, some call it deschooling. Whether or not you want to go to a micro school, I said there are so many nuances, so many different things. And it's just having those conversations. So that's what that consultation looks like. And that's how ultimately those individuals that wanted to join our small co-op, because we have interviews, we have conversations and see if it's a great fit. Because what we don't want to happen is someone joins our co-op and then ultimately they are against everything that we're standing for within our
Right.
space. So it's like, no. So we actually have conversations, essential conversations, because even when we're building out for our co-op, we have a workspace for parents where they can come in if they need to come in and take a nap. And
No.
we have workshops for them. We also incorporate healthy eating because we have a vegan chef. So we prepare the meals. We have a plan for that as far as what that looks like, what that entails. So even if you need to say, hey, I need to woosah, okay, that's built into our co-op. You may not see that at someone else's co-op. They tell you parents must
Mhm.
stay on site. We're like, no, you can, if you need to take a nap, because we understand what life is lifing. So there may be times where you just need to take a deep breath to yourself. You need to go out for an hour. Okay, go ahead, drop off. But this is the understanding. These are our norms. So it's not a drop off where you say, oh, I'm just dropping off and then I'm not equally involved. No, no, no. We're going to need your support. That's what that looks like.
Nice. Okay. So you helping families basically individualize their homeschooling,
Yes,
understanding that.
customize it. Yes,
Yes.
customize it for your needs because, like I said, everyone's journey isn't the same. And I said we have to stop mimicking what someone else is doing. Their narrative is not your narrative. And that's what I
Indeed.
ultimately had to realize after that first year. Like my story is totally different. So when I'm sharing my narrative about homeschooling, it may not speak to this person over here. It may speak to this person based off their lifestyle, what they're doing. In
Yeah.
homeschooling, I always tell them, you say, okay, well, what time? Do you have hours? I said, home, it's an everyday thing for us. I said, we don't shut down. We keep it rolling. We keep it moving. They said it's a year round. I said, right now, yeah, it is year round for us. I said, but when I first started, no, it wasn't year round. I shut it off in the summer. I said, the reason why I say year round, because you're always learning. And I said, I had to learn that. I said, even when we travel, it's a year long what we're doing. So that's why I say for a year long, and we'll take breaks every now and then. Like right now, Florida is on spring break, so I told her, you know what, I need a break. You need a break, and so we shut it down. She was like, wait, we're shutting it down. I said, but in reality, we're still learning. It's
Yes.
just the things that we do as far as what we do as far as our schedule. It's mm-mm, we're taking it away this week because it's a much needed break, and I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. Listen to yourself. I know I just had somebody ask me that too. Do y'all take the same breaks at school? I said they try to negotiate them, girl, all the time. They try like, oh, they on Christmas break right now. So
I'm
okay.
like, so okay, and
Okay.
what? Okay, all
Like,
right. It
yeah,
depends. It
no.
depends on how we're feeling. It's like, okay, yeah, we can do it. Let's take a break. It's okay because we listen to our bodies. Our bodies will
Yes.
shut down, and ultimately, in just knowing each other, it's like, okay, yeah, we go ahead and take this break. So for now, I'm like, go ahead, lay up, do what you want to do this week. I said,
Hmm.
but go out. If we go out somewhere, I'm still going to throw in those real world experiences for you. So she's
Right.
like, I already know. So I was like, okay, all right. And she's good.
Yes. I love it.
Thank
How
you.
was your time in the classroom? Because you say you initially was like, okay, I'm gonna retire from this girl. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you, look, that's the opposite of me. Because my first year, when
Uh-huh.
I saw my first paycheck, I'm not gonna hold y'all. I saw that first paycheck and I was like, oh yeah, no, this can't be life. because I worked way too hard for this. This is
Okay,
crazy.
yes.
Yes, I was like,
So,
oh, y'all probably get like 5 years out of me at
oh
most. And
wow.
I did longer, but
Wow.
I was just like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna be it.
Afterlife. So for
Yes.
me, ultimately, like I said, my narrative, when I look back and reflect on my journey, I was like, yeah, this was for me. Because if someone else had this narrative, they would have been like, I'm done.
Mhm.
When I prior to me graduating, I actually had, internship. So my teacher at the time, she was getting ready to retire. And ultimately, she said, I can't retire. And I'm talking to her like, why can't you retire? What do you mean? When it's time to retire, you retire. What
Right.
non-negotiable? And she said, she said, well, ultimately, I haven't found the person. This was when I first started and just having dialogue, just getting to know who she was. And she was like, I haven't found the right person. So that's why I'm ultimately still here. And I said, well, when do you have to have a person in place? She said, by May, I need to know who's going to be in this spot because at the end of the day, I want to make sure my students are taken care of. And I said,
Hmm.
oh, okay, all right. So fast forward, May hits or April hits, the last week in April, right before spring break. And she's like, she said, I have some news for you. And I said, well, what news do you have? She said, I found someone. And I said, okay, good. You found someone. So you're retiring. She's like, yes, I'm going to retire. And I said, okay, all right. And she said, I want you to, on Monday, when we follow from the spring break, you're going to come in and I want you to have a conversation with the principal for me. And I'm like, for what? Am I in trouble? What did I do? She was like, no. She said, the person that I'm speaking of is you.
Oh.
And I said, are you serious? She said, yeah. She said, this is where you need to be. So I said, are you sure? I said, this was an advanced class. I'm like, normally first year teachers, you don't get advanced classes. Like, how is this going to work? What
Mhm.
is this going to look like? She said, don't worry about it. She said, you're sold. It's done. So once that took place, I was like, okay, came back Monday. The principal, she was sitting on the left, principal was in front of me, and he was like, oh, she said she's ready to retire and the spot is all yours. I said, wait, there's no conversation. We're not going to talk. He's like, he was like,
We're
no.
talking. Like, this
He
is
said, we're
it.
talking. This is it. And I said, are you sure? I said, but advance, as a first year, he said, I trust her. I trust
No.
her. And therefore, I'm trusting you on your actual journey. And he said, you're going to do great things. And I was like, okay, all right. So the first year, yeah, we did it. I came, conquered, did what I need to do. And then I was like, okay, this is it. I said, I thought I was going to teach high school. I
Mhm.
said it was middle school. And I said I was already offered a position for high school as well, and I just took the middle school position. I said, what did I get sign myself up for? Fast forward 14 years in the classroom. That experience was wonderful. I won Teacher of the Year for the district, and then I said ultimately, or my one non-negotiable was looping with my class. And anytime that I said if I have to loop with my class, that means it's time for me to shift and leave.
What's the
So
looping? What's that?
looping where ultimately you get the same kids, just a different grade. So
Okay.
I had them seventh grade and they wanted me to loop with them eighth grade because the saying was I was the only gifted teacher. And I said, no,
Okay.
no, no, we're not doing that just because no, you need to get someone in place. That has nothing to do with me. And they said they didn't want to risk losing their scores. And I was like,
Mm.
no, but you're hindering me because I set them the foundation for them. And I told them, you're going to have a different teacher. That's always how I end up the year. I'm preparing you for the next person, not me again,
Hmm.
unless I got you halfway through the year. That's the only way that I will stick with you. But I've had you all year, non negotiable. What are we going to do? So after I won, I went to my principal and I talked to him. I said, look, he said, I already know. He said, I already know what you're doing. He said, you were the only teacher, forget that. And he said, that's no excuse. No, so I'm like, okay, everything that I was already going to say, you already know. I love you dearly. So what are we doing? So he said, how can I make this better?
Mm.
I said, okay, how we're going to make this better. I want to go to Georgia.
Mm.
He said, "You want to go to Georgia?" I said, "Yes, I want to go 2 weeks or 1 week. Let me go 1 week to Georgia." And he said, "Okay." Now, this is unheard of. When I tell this story to teachers, they're like, "Your principal lets you leave at the beginning of the year, August, to go to a different state to test out the waters to see if you wanted to be there?" And I said, "Yes, he did. I thought this was the norm. This is what people do." And they said,
So you
"No,
went to a different school
I went to a different
in
state.
Georgia?
I went to a different look from Florida. I'm originally was
Yes.
teaching here, and I went to Georgia to test out the waters." And he was like, "Yeah, you can go ahead and test it out and see, if this is something that you want to do." So I went to Georgia. Upon going to Georgia, I had an interview. I had an interview at one school, and I fell in love with the school. And I said, "Okay, all right. On Friday, I have to call my principal and let him know." I talked to the principal in Georgia, and I told him what the situation was. And he said, "Oh," he said, "your principal is going to be okay with this." I said, "Hmm." I said, "I have to find a
No.
solution." I said,
Oh,
"Wait." I
no,
said,
he's
"What?
not.
No, he's not." I said, "He's not. I have to quick fast and think of a solution real quick." He said, "I got one." He said, "I have a teacher here that same credentials as you." He said, "The only thing, she's a dance teacher. She's cheerleading." I said, "Yeah, that wasn't my ministry. That wasn't what I was doing." So I said, "Ooh." I said, "They're they want that." I said, "Let me talk to her. Let me have a conversation with her." So I called her on the phone, and I talked to her, and I said, "Hey, what's your MO? Let's talk." Come to find out, she was a friend of a friend here in Florida. And so
Oh,
I got checked her out as far as references, all that. And I said, "Yeah, she's a perfect fit. Yeah, we're two peas in a pod." So when I
nice.
called him on that Friday and I explained to him, I said, "I made the decision." He said, "You're staying in Georgia." I said, "Well,
Mm.
yeah." I said, "I'll finish." I said, "To be fair, I'll finish." I said, I have something for you." He said, "What do you have?" I said, "I have a teacher that is gifted, and all the credentials that I have, and then some." I said, "I want you to have a conversation with her. She has to come back down to Florida. She has to come back down to Florida." And he said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Okay, put me on the line with her." He hired her. And
Wow.
he was like, "Wow." He said, "This has never happened." I said, "So we just flip flopped. I went to
So she
Georgia. She
came from
came here."
yeah. Oh, wow. That's
So she
nice.
came and I took on her class because she was like, "Okay, I can't leave because these are my kids. I don't know." But she had to. She had to come back, relocate to Florida. And it was like unheard of
Look at that
because he was
alignment,
like,
though. That's
yeah,
amazing.
he was like, "I've never had this." So the last thing that he said to me was, "If you ever come back down to Florida and you move back," he said, he said, "You will always know where I am, what school, where I'm at, and you will always have a job." And I
No.
was like, "Wow." And I said, everyone's like, "Okay, you have bad blood." I said, "No, he had a conversation with the principal in Georgia and they were on the same page and they were laughing and I was hired." I started working in Georgia in October 2012. So that
No.
was 3 months into the school year. And mind you, that group of scholars or students that I had, it was rough because coming from Georgia, I'm coming from Florida, the school that I taught at, it was, they had all the bells and whistles.
Mm.
And then when I got to Georgia, it was like, okay, we don't have all the bells and whistles. They have limitations. What is going on? I said, "You know what? We're gonna make it do what it do." And on top of that, many of the students, they were on house arrest. And I was like, "Wait a
Mm.
minute, this is middle school. What are we doing? I'm
Right.
not used to this." So the first conversation that I had with the student was, "We're gonna see how long you last." I said, "Wait, what? Wait, what? How long you last? What do you mean?" He said, "Okay, well, the previous individuals, they were here in August." He said, "You don't realize it's October. They
Mm.
left. We ran them out." And I was like, "And that's something you want to be proud of?" And they said, "Yeah, I came in my Sunday best because that's what I knew." And they're like, "Yeah, you come in your Sunday best. We're gonna watch you leave." I was like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm from Florida. We don't leave. We don't
What?
do that." So ultimately, I instilled in them, some character. It was like some things that we're
Yes.
non-negotiable. This is what we're going to do. I said, "We're going to excel. We're going to be." I mark my words. I said, "You are looked upon as, the individuals that are low, I said, not on my watch, baby. Not on my watch with the Sunday attire. I said, we gonna
Right.
make it happen. And they tested the highest for the district and the school. And I said, I
Mm.
told you. I said, by any means necessary. So I continued my journey from Florida to Georgia. And then ultimately, um, what happened, because I was still going to be in the classroom. I'm gonna be very transparent. I was still going to remain in the classroom. I had a decision to make. I was on bed rest and due to an injury. And with that injury, I ultimately had to choose whether I was going back. And then around that time, my daughter was born, and I was like, I don't want to be that person where I'm taken away from my daughter. So this was the year prior to me homeschooling, where I had an injury, my vehicle shifted out of gear and grazed my thigh, and I was on bed rest.
Mm.
It was right after I signed my contract. Yeah, right after I signed my
Oh,
contract. The
wow.
universe said, "Hey, no, you're not going back into the school." I said, "No, sit down, sit down." So I'm gonna put you down, and I was put down, and ultimately that's where I started my business, Lady Quinn Enterprise, while I was on that bed rest, and I haven't looked back since then.
Oh,
So it was a blessing in disguise, because I probably would have still been in the classroom prior up until probably most likely the pandemic. I probably or pandemic. I would have probably been in the classroom. I would have up until that point because the shifts that took place. I would not know. No, certain things that I would not have subscribed to at all.
right.
So it was best that that happened prior to prepare me for where I was going, because I was already doing online or had virtual services. I was already ahead of the game. It's just that I didn't know what was about to come down the pipeline.
Alignment.
Yes, alignment. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
here you are out here, non-traditional, doing your thing. How do you
Mm-hmm.
self-care?
So self-care, I ultimately said to myself, I am going to every week I treat myself to something that I like to do. So grandma, since we're in Florida, grandma, grandpa, auntie, they take on Alana, and then I go by myself. It depends. I may take her with me sometimes, but I said no. I need to for myself.
Yes.
So I'll go get a massage. I will go, you know, enjoy dinner by myself. I'll go enjoy a movie by myself sometimes. So that's how I ultimately self care for myself. And I just let go. I let go and I shut it all down. I shut it all off, shut off my cell phone, everything. In the event that someone needs to get in touch with me, I'm not too far. I said that I can give myself grace, that 1 hour to myself or 2 hours. I can give myself grace because it's
Yes.
needed. Because the reality is, when I was on bed rest, I said, you see your life flash in front of you with the car grazing your thigh, rolling down. It was a whole situation. When you see that, you appreciate things. You don't take things for granted, because at the end of the day, you realize it can be gone in the blink of an eye. So that's why ultimately I had to say for myself, some things are non-negotiable. When I say self-care for myself, it's non-negotiable. I shut it down. I don't make any except. I'm unapologetic about it. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not. When I feel a little tense right here, oh, it's that time. It's self care, and then everyone looks like, okay, really? Yes, because I'm my own boss and I'm standing on business. I'm standing on business about it.
Yes. Where do we find you?
You can find me social media, Lady Quinn. Instead of the Y, it's an I. So LADIQUIN Enterprise on
Okay.
Facebook and Instagram. And my website is www.ladyquinnenterprise.com.
And all the links will be available in the description. And before I let you go, three things you will want parents to walk away from this conversation with. It's like, hey, if you didn't hear nothing else, hear this.
three things that I would want parents to take away, my takeaways, my three takeaways. One, um, do what's best for your family. Don't subscribe to what someone else is doing. Do what's best for your family, what your family's needs are based on this time rather. Number two, take time out for self. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overthink the process because at the end of the day, you're welcome. At the end of the day, um, you're marching to your drum. And number three, the last takeaway would be, let's see. I had those two, yeah, but the third takeaway, be unapologetic. Be unapologetic about any and everything that you do on this actual journey. If you make a mistake, dust yourself off and try again and be unapologetic about it. Those are my three takeaways.
I appreciate it. Yes, you've heard her. Make your non-negotiable, make your list of non-negotiables, be
Mm-hmm.
unapologetic about it, and stand on
Yes.
business because
Stand
this is
on
your life,
business. Stand on
okay?
business.
It
Mm-hmm.
is your life. So
Mm-hmm.
parents, please understand that it does not have to look one way. Your educational plan may differ from your neighbors, and that is fine. Do what works for you and your family. Do what works for you and your kids. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are here to smile. We are here to be
Mm-hmm.
happy. And if we ain't doing a lot of that, then we need to fix and adjust some things. Okay.
Hello. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
hello. Yes. But
Hello.
always and forever, y'all, homeschool your kids.
Mm-hmm.